pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the schedule of meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council, which schedule designated the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We are using an electronic amplifying and recording device, and in order to obtain an audible and clear record, we request that all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly into the microphone. The recording device is to be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of the minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meetings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison? Mr. Schmidt?
Present.
Mrs. Stubbs? Present. Mrs. Winters? Here. Mr. Mignone?
Here.
Mrs. Prado?
Here.
Prado is on vacation. Mr. Lechner is on vacation. Chief Earl?
Here.
Mr. Barlamere?
Here.
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Cardis?
Here.
We will now have our first public portion. Anybody wishing to speak on agenda items only, please raise your hand and to address the council. Mr. Polidoro?
Good evening, Council. Ray Polidoro, Ariel. First topic is agenda item, is the agenda itself. As we're seeing more people come to the council meeting, maybe we can have some more agendas printed up so everybody has a eyeball on the agenda. Second is I'll ask council to open up the second public portion for longer than the 30-minute time limit so that everyone in this room has an opportunity to speak and be heard.
We'll take that into consideration, Ray. Thank you. Mr. Heimball?
Good evening, Pete Heimball, Morningstar Court. I'll try to refrain from any outbursts out of turn this meeting, unlike last meeting. Apologize for that last meeting. One agenda question, and this from the bill list. There was a payment to Pettit Associates, an engineering firm, for $2,200 rounded, and it was charged to the 2015 Open Space Fund. Do we know what that payment was for?
No, can you?
In all probability, it was part of the turf field project. But without me having it in front of me, I can't tell you specifically.
They're engineering, they architects, engineering?
They're the township's recreation engineer.
Those fields should have been designed and engineered well before now, well before this August, for no need to make another payment to them in August, shouldn't they?
No, because part of that contract is inspection, so they have to be out there while the contractor's working to look at the work and make sure that it's satisfactory.
This was likely an inspection by
I would think it is an inspection, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the first public portion? Seeing none, I close the first public portion. Proclamation.
Whereas approximately 1/3 of all fatal crashes in the United States involve drunk drivers. Whereas impaired driving crashes cost the United States $50 billion a year. And whereas 27% of motor vehicle fatalities in New Jersey in 2013 last year.
Can't hear you.
Complete data is available for alcohol related. And whereas an enforcement crackdown is planned to combat impaired driving. And whereas the summer season and the Labor Day holiday is particularly and traditionally time of social gatherings which include alcohol. And whereas the State of New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety has asked law enforcement agencies throughout the state to participate in the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2016 statewide crackdown. And whereas the project will involve increased impaired driving enforcement from August 19th through September 5th, 2016. Whereas an increase in impaired driving enforcement and a reduction in impaired driving will save lives on our roadways. Therefore, be it proclaimed that I, David, Mayor of the Township of Gloucester, and I, Orlando Mercado, Council President, declare our support for the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2016 statewide crackdown from August 19, 2016 through September 5, 2016, and pledges to increase awareness of the dangers of drinking and driving.
Thank you. Resolution of consent agenda. Any council person that wishes to remove anything, please speak up. Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs? Yes. Mrs. Winters? Yes. Manu?
Yes.
Yes.
Resolution 247, resolution declaring default of Kearsley 3 LLC for Woodthrush Avenue, also known as
Tom, is there anything you wish to add regarding that resolution? Or John, do you have any?
I think you have our estimate. This project is a development project off of Kearsley Road. It ties into the forest rich development. The land sale was sold over a year ago. The developer was responsible for completing the streets and completing some of the landscaping. That's completed work. Our recommendation to the town, and the town decided to move with going after the performance guarantees that the developer posted. This is the first step, authorizing company in a nutshell. So it's the first step of a long legal process we do.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I can't hear the Lord. Yeah. Just gonna do.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs? Yes. Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. Manu?
Yes.
Mrs. Trout?
Yes. We have no GTE Gov questions this evening. We will now open our second public portion. Anybody wishing to speak, please raise your hand and wait to be called on. There is a 5-minute limit for each person to speak, and we will take into consideration the total time of 30 minutes for the second public portion. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Richard Sinaglia at 22 Sumter Court, right here in Glen Oaks. I was looking at the FY 2015 budget, and I noticed that one of the revenues was $3 million from the capital surplus. And I was wondering why council would choose to use capital money. I'm assuming it was money that was funded by the issuance of bonds or what have you for operating expenses in the current fund.
It was canceled. It was,
No, I understand that, Tom. You canceled an appropriation. It was fully funded, which means that bonds were probably sold at some point in time.
and the state recognizes to offset debt service, you are permitted to anticipate it as a line item in the budget, as you're aware.
I understand that. I'm saying, but why did you choose to do that? That's what I don't understand. I know it's legal. I know it's legal.
Money was available, and that's what we did.
Okay, but now you also had over $5 million in unfunded appropriations still available in the capital fund. Why didn't you use that to amend those ordinances and reappropriate the $3 million and keep it in the capital? You already sold bond. Now, Tom, you know that $3 million there were.
It's all part of the capital program. That is part of the 2016 capital program, and those projects are moving forward.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that you had the cash available, that you didn't have to sell additional bonds to fund the unfunded balances that you have in the capital.
This was a remaining balance in the in all the capital accounts from all the bond ordinances that we've adopted over the past, I would estimate 10 years, 12 years, and we chose to cancel $3 million of that issuance.
Okay.
You're
So-
familiar with that.
All right, so you chose to use that to keep from
That's
increasing
correct.
taxes in that particular year?
That's correct, that was a choice.
Okay. Now, the only problem I have with that, and I understand it's legal, is it's a non-reoccurring revenue.
That is correct.
Now, that's $3 million you're going to have to find somewhere else, and in 2016, there was an item for $1,900,000, a reserve for payment of outstanding bonds or what have you, bonds and interest. Now, is that a non-reoccurring revenue?
It is.
It is.
It is.
Okay. Do you think that's good budgeting, to keep using these non-reoccurring revenues?
I think we have to use what's available to us to offset the tax.
Okay, so that's to offset any tax
That is
increase?
correct.
Okay.
You're familiar with that process.
Well, how do you plan to make up that $1.9 million? I guess that's my point.
We're looking at that right now. We're looking at the budget for 2017 now.
Another tax increase.
Okay. All right.
Sir?
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Polidoro?
Hello again, Council. Ray Polidoro here. At the last meeting, the question that arose was about the funds for storms. 2 storms, 3 storms a year. And I think I had asked if you don't use it for, let's say we have a year we have no storms, you've got funding available for that. You said, I'd asked if it was a use it or lose it deal. Now, that being the case, is that a mandate from the state? Is it mandated by anyone, or is that a municipal choice?
You're asking me if money's appropriated in the budget for any type of storm, let's say, for example, snowstorm, if that money is remaining at year end in that particular calendar year, fiscal year, then what happens is it remains, first off, you would do your transfers to cover any overages in any of the accounts, because you can't finish the year off with an over expenditure, otherwise you'd have to have a deferred charge in the following year's budget. So what happens then is you reach year end, December 31st, that money sits in that account for an entire year. And the premise behind that is that on perhaps utility bills or trash bills, you're still going to get bills in after December 31st. So you've got to pay those out of what now becomes the reserve. And that money runs for an entire year, and then it lapses to fund balance in the following year.
What's the average allotment in an average year for snow removal, storms, windstorms, whatever? What do we usually keep on hand for that?
I would say somewhere between 5 and 800,000.
Okay, so at the end of the year, and keeping in mind, now that we are a calendar year, the winter goes through that month and into the next year, and that if that is carried forward. And again, the answer to the question is that a mandate or is that a municipal choice? That in the past we have used that money instead of rolling it over to the following year.
They'll have the option of, let's say, for example, what happened this year. We had a storm, a pretty severe storm in January, which because of this declaration of a state of emergency qualified for FEMA aid. And so we made an application for that money with our FEMA application. Right now we have $1.6 million coming back to the township from the June 23rd, 2015 windstorm and that January storm. So we're still waiting for that. But if you get to year end, you can't take the money that's in reserve to pay for a storm that happens after December 31st. It has to get charged at that point to the temporary budget because you don't have a budget in place yet. That's why in January we do a temporary budget.
Understood. My other question would be, in the foreseeable future, are there any other additional bonds that are going to be looked at, and for any other projects? And if so, what?
I'm sure there will be bonds, there will be capital projects for road improvements, capital projects for drainage, maybe capital for equipment, for police equipment, for public works equipment. Yes, that's all part of the planned capital expenditure program.
Do you have any anticipation of about how much in bonds we'll be seeking in the next 12 months?
Well, right now we have a notes outstanding, so we have not permanently financed. I would say, based on past history and what the needs are, the 2017 capital budget will probably be in the vicinity of $6 million.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Nevada Bowers. I'm a resident at the Courts at Stonebridge Run. My address is 604 Tanglewood Drive, Sicklerville, New Jersey. I am a neighbor of Valari's Restaurant, and I would like to say that it's been a terrible experience living next door to Valari's. For one, they have a live band, and at times you can't even hear yourself talk or think. You have to turn your TVs up loud in order to hear what's being said. And we've voiced our opinion about this several times, and we would like to see a resolution of this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, do you, I know we've been talking about it at every meeting. Any?
The council, as well as the mayor's administration, has requested that I review the noise ordinances of surrounding communities, and so far we've gathered 3 or 4 ordinances from the various communities. But more so than that, I've met with Ken Lechner, Director of Community Development, and asked him to pull out the site plan approvals for Valari's, to review those, specifically those that deal with the deck and that tiki bar that's out there. And the tiki bar is what the issue is, from my understanding. So I'm in the process of reviewing those. I know I have a meeting coming up in the next few days with the mayor's office to go through what I found from reviewing the site plan approvals for that site that deals mostly around that tiki bar. So we don't have a good handle on what those approvals granted or did not grant at this point.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Tony Bonpastor. I live on the Sicklerville side of town on Aberdeen Drive. Just a couple of questions. What's the cost to maintain an athletic grass field per year?
I really don't have those numbers. We just finished this project, so I don't know.
All right, so then at some point, would you be able to do a cost comparison, grass versus turf, and then find what that ROI would be on that particular project?
Could, and we've had this discussion before, and it was at length. It went on for several weeks, even into a couple months, and the end result was no, we really couldn't produce something that would be useful with regard to return on investment. The primary reason for the turf fields was the fact that a lot of the fields could not continue to be maintained because they were grass, there were ruts in it, the grass wouldn't grow, it was dirt, the fields couldn't rest. There's just too big of an athletic program in Gloucester Township to be able to accommodate just using the grass fields. The decision, after much discussion with the various leagues, was to look into the turf fields.
Fair enough. Then the other question around that is, what's the cost to maintain the turf field, to clean the field, to germs, to MRSA, things that you get from it?
That was your original question, and I don't have that answer.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carol Morrell. I'm a resident of Stonebridge Run, 501 Tanglewood Drive. My problem is the noise also. And we spoke with officers over the weekend, and we continually get that they had the meter calibrated, and they brought it back, and it's still not working. And they've been telling us that for about 3 or 4 weeks now. So what's being done about that?
Chief, can you give us an update, please?
Yeah, the meter has to be sent out to be calibrated. It should be returned. Although I will say that for the last 3 or 4 weeks, there has not been a noise meter violation. The equipment the ordinance exists, the equipment was working, but I'm not saying that there wasn't an issue. I'm saying that the current ordinance, we can approach it with a violation. So even when the noise meter was working for the past few weeks of this year, before it went out to calibration, it wasn't finding a violation.
My point is, we were told several times that they were in violation. And we had a meeting and they said they were only found in violation once, which is what we were not told. We were told they have been in violation several times.
Yeah, I think it was 3 times. Going back maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, probably beginning of summer. I think there were 3 violations. I don't have the information in front of me, but I think that some of them were urged in court, which is beyond our control, and then it went to mediation. So there was a time that there were violations of the noise ordinance that resulted in specific summonses being issued.
Right.
So then there were some actions taken by the property owner that brought them just under the limitations of the noise ordinance.
He's self-monitoring.
I know, yeah, there are.
Yeah. So that's the problem. And the thing is, we don't really see any real resolution to it.
Well, as Lister said, I'm part of those meetings that they're having this week, which is looking at the ordinance, because right now they're just under some of the violations in the current ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, thank you. Dorset Kelly, again, from the courts at Stonebridge Run Townhome Community. Officer, I just heard what you said in terms of they have not been in violation. I personally have called within the last 3 weeks after 10 p.m. when the music was the same level as between the 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. allowance of 65 decibels during that time. I called at 10 p.m. I also called at about 10:07 when the music was still at, I guess, that allowable 65. So again, the point is, if the noise meter is not working to be able to capture that, in essence, we're losing an opportunity here to get to a resolution. Because in fact, if we want to say prior to the 10 p.m., they are within the noise ordinance, understandable, howbeit it is still excessive and loud, but we'll deal with that. 10 p.m., 10:01, they're in violation, and no one is there to capture that. And as I said, I know I have called, and I'm sure some of my other neighbors have as well. So we're not getting to the true facts here in terms of what this business is putting out in terms of the noise pollution.
If I could just add one thing before you speak, Chief. Mrs. Kelly, I don't know if you're aware, a couple of us have had the opportunity to go out in your neighborhood and hear how loud the music is. And I mean, we do agree that it is atrocious, and it was early in the evening. I think we're all pretty diligent and on it to try to get some resolution other than the whole decibel issue, because I wouldn't want to have to live like that weekend and weekend. So I appreciate your due diligence, but I hope you realize we're trying to push the
and we do,
change.
And I understand it, and I do appreciate it. But I just also wanted to address this meter piece,
definitely.
which also helps to validate our concern, particularly if it's 10 p.m.
I understand.
When this noise is excessive at that point. And again, if we're okay in terms of the ordinance from the 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., what we're dealing with that, as you say, and we appreciate that. But as I said, I know for a fact, at least on 2 to 3 occasions, it was after 10 p.m. when that noise remained the same, and we were not able to capture that violation. So, if there's something else we can do when one meter is out, is there another that can be used?
No, unfortunately not. No, I mean, there isn't. We've had one meter, I think, my whole career. There shouldn't be any. Obviously, the equipment has to be certified for school support. Unfortunately, that time it happens now where we've gone out 8 times with that meter, and there was no violation. I mean, honestly, our response over the past few months has been pretty significant. You can probably see the officers in yards. The officers that use that noise meter have to be certified by Rutgers, of course. they have to be called in to respond to that. It's not just anything. Our response to the Lars incident from a law enforcement perspective is pretty significant, and I'm sure that, I know that's not helping you in the past few weeks, but when you look historically back to the beginning of the spring, taking 3 violations to court, albeit it has not solved the problem, we've responded there quite regularly, and we will continue to do so. But we've seen so many times when we've gone out and it has not violated the ordinance, and again, I'm not saying that it's not valid or it's not bothersome. I completely understand that, but we can't write a violation that doesn't violate the ordinance. And as soon as it comes back and we have that here and it's certified, we'll go back out and we'll continue to make those, take those measurements, and there's a violation, we'll issue that summons to court. So I suspect that will be done quite soon. But what we're realistically seeing is, even with having a noise meter and the current ordinances in place, it's still not being able to be comfortable. So the issue is the fact that the acceptable level of the decibel in the noise ordinance is still lacking. And that's what you're hearing. I mean, there are times where you're going out and it's been very loud, but they're still not violating the ordinance. So I think that's what's it needs to be looked at from a much larger perspective. Realize bad timing on the equipment, but it's still going to be addressed when it needs to be addressed in a bigger fashion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, David Haig, Highland Village. Just a request. We have the township notification system where we get alerts of weather storms, bolos for shoplifters, concert notifications. Can we put the township meeting notifications on there?
I can definitely relay that information.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Jasper Lucas, 401 Tanglewood Drive, also Stonebridge Run. Just want to say that the problem with Valaris, it hasn't changed. I mean, regardless of what the meters say or don't say, the music's the same. So I just want to say that we appreciate efforts that you're making. Hopefully, Mr. Solicitor, Chief, your review of the ordinance will bring some sort of resolution there, because obviously it just seems like we're just going around in circles as far as measuring the noise with equipment and so forth. That doesn't seem to be doing anything. So I think ultimately the resolution is going to be in, looking at the ordinance and hopefully finding that, something can be done through that. But I don't expect there's going to be any resolution this year. We met with the mayor, last week, and he seemed to agree with that. So, hopefully we'll get something done in time for the season next year. So,
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cheryl Burley. I'm from Country Air Development. I was going to discuss asking you to rescind the loan that you made for the turf, since that's something that it's frivolous and it's something that the township doesn't need to put on our debt. However, evidently it's already gone through and you're going to do this. Perhaps in the future you can find some other way of funding it. Maybe with all these teams they can actually donate money or whatever towards the upkeep and so on of the fields instead of putting it on the taxpayers.
Ma'am, just to be clear, the bond that was passed for that project was funded 100% from the recreation open space tax that was approved overwhelmingly by referendum back in the early 2000s. And that money, all that debt service is going to be coming out of that fund.
Oh, so it won't be on our backs.
Not
So it
coming
won't
out
go
of the
into the
general
debt.
fund. It's not part of this tax increase.
Oh, great. Mr. Cardis, would you please specify the exact dollar amount of debt that this township is in as of today?
I wouldn't have that figure for you, but I would estimate it to be somewhere around 55 million.
Okay. In debt. This township is in debt.
Now, that's debt service. That is money that has been borrowed, and we're paying principal and interest on that money.
Okay. All right, could we stop the clock? Because I'm losing my minutes. All
I
right.
pay tax over taxes, and I'm going to trim the purse. Look at me, I'm sorry.
That's okay, but I only have 5 minutes and I'm losing my time.
I've got to talk.
Okay, as you've heard at the July 25th council meeting, residents were very unhappy with council's approval of that resolution. But that's another thing. Sorry. I have noticed that even though there are numerous driveways in my development in Country Air for handicap access, I see taxpayer dollars being spent to install corner ramps. Why is this being done? Is it state mandated?
I believe it is. The engineer could comment on that.
All right, well, if it is, would council please point out the overabundance of driveways that already exist that these wheelchairs can use? And also, when the paving company was asked when they were going to repair an approximately 25-foot long, badly damaged section of pavement at the corner of Dunham Way and Sherwood Court, they said it wasn't included. Would you please look into this? It's really bad. It's a hazard. Okay, and I've also read online that New Jersey has a huge problem with having to pay for excessive overtime. If this is the case for our police or other personnel, would you consider hiring on part-time workers or taking volunteers like the fire department to do cuts on the cost? Also, in reference to the free concerts, don't we have to pay for the entertainment and police present using tax dollars? If this is the case, then they're not really free. We'd like council to consider doing away with them. Would council consider turning the senior center into a daycare with discounted rates for residents with children? The cost of daycare eats up 1/3 to 2/3 of the income for the average resident with children. A portion of the center could even be rented out on weekends for special events to residents at a reduced rate and non-residents for a higher rate. If some seniors do object, you could still use it as a senior center on specified nights. It could help the residents and add income to offset our debt. Perhaps Ms. Stubbs could convince the school board to assign some of the teachers with a low ratio of students in their classrooms to work there. Another thing, according to what we have discovered, this township is using a loophole, cap bank, AKA debt service, to avoid the 2% tax cap put into law by Governor Christie. As most of us see it, you are continuing to approve resolutions that increase township debt and inflate our property taxes well over the cap. Weren't you elected or appointed to make this township a better place for residents to live and work? Look at our roads, our schools, the many empty and boarded up homes. You've heard the struggles of residents who have paid to pay these increases. In retrospect, what we would like to know is, are you going to listen and work with the residents to make Gloucester Township a great and affordable place to live again? I typed one of these up for each of you. If you have any questions about them.
I know you're ready.
I may be down, but I'm not out.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sarah Bash Young. On one end of my street, where I live, they call it Peter Cheeseman. On the other end up here, they call it Little Gloucester Road, I think. And down at the other end, I don't know what the name of it is down there by Terrestrial, but it's another name. Good evening, council. I love you. I miss Sam Sowler. I go to see him, and I hope you have been. Keep him in your prayers. He's not feeling well. He's trying to tell me something and he can't get it out. But so help me, there is a God, and I'm going to find out what happened.
Let's move on.
I'm going to study this. You're doing a wonderful job. God bless all of you. I'm going to Trenton. The governor is a friend of mine. He wants me to go around with him because he knows when I get ready to say something, I'm not afraid. God is on my side. How many seconds do I have left?
You're good. You have almost 4 minutes.
Oh, 4 minutes. Praise the Lord. Well, now, let me see now. Chief, God bless you, your brother up the street here, all of you. We love you, we love you. And if you need me, call me. Because the one before you, Chief Stickler, anybody remember him? Stickler. Stonestown? Chief.
Yeah, in the 70s.
He sold me a 38 and taught me how to shoot it and told me to shoot it, ask questions later.
Only in America.
I'm gonna sit down now. But before I sit down, there's one more thing I'd like to say. Just one. That is this. I'm concerned about every human being with the qualification to vote in this community. Next door to you or wherever they are. Tell them to go to the polls and vote. And I'd like you to help me to get everybody. I'm not going to tell you what to vote and how to vote. That's up to you and God. But register. I'm going out here on my little scooter and ring doorbells. And I'm going to put on something sassy, and I want them to know that I'm out here. And I'm going to, wherever the crowd is, I just want everybody, do me a favor. Tell somebody, please vote. Don't throw your vote away. Thank you.
Joanne Carr, Timber Birch. I have a question, Tom, about the open space. Every time it comes up, you say it was passed overwhelmingly. Do we use all of the monies that is collected each year for the open space?
In some years we do, in some years we don't. Right now, we are using all of it, yes.
Okay, so if we're using all of it now, next year, should anything new be allowed to be attached to that, or are we fixed with this for quite some time without taking anything new on?
I would say to you that we're fixed with regard to bond issuances and major projects. As you are aware, the initial project was the hockey rinks.
Right.
They were bonded under the open space, and then the turf fields came along and they were bonded under the open space. So for the next 10 years, of the roughly $850,000 that we collect for the open space, based on 2 cents, $450,000 of that each year will go to principal and interest debt service.
For the hockey fields and the
turf fields.
When will the hockey fields be paid off?
Don't know. I'm sorry.
I mean, it was a while ago that we did it. It's about 4 or 5 years ago.
I have to get back to that, Jane. I don't know.
What other things are being accomplished with the open space money? I know our parks are being mowed.
Correct. And also applications of fertilization, which we never done before. The irrigation systems are being installed. Many times we're replacing playground equipment. Playground equipment you see out in Veterans Park, that was purchased through the open space. The rubber surfacing, all those types of projects. The Lake Matilda, we're fixing up some of the old Boy Scout camp in there. Gabriel Davies Tavern, money goes towards that area. Citizens Appreciation Park, all those things.
Are all of those things paid? I know there are grants for some of them, but are all of the things that are not accomplished through grants, are they being paid through the open space?
As much as possible, we go to the open space to pay for those things.
Okay. the maintenance for the turf. You said, it's $3 million for the turf fields, but then we're going to have to maintain it over the years. Will that be financed through open space?
It's possible. It's possible. It may come from the regular budget. You have to remember the individuals that are working in parks and recreations are budgeted under the general fund as part of the overall budget. But there are pieces of equipment, maybe some of the materials can be purchased out of the open space. My understanding of the maintenance, from what I know, talking to the engineer and the contractor, is that there is not that much maintenance coming up over the next 2 years with the project. They'll have to fill in certain areas. As you may be aware, we decided to go with the cool play fields. Cool play fields are a new type of field that is not really around here too much. I think it's down in Maryland. It has a top layer of cork, and the purpose is to cool the field down because those fields can get to temperatures of 140 degrees. They actually can melt the cleats on the bottom of the shoes. So the cool play fields reduce the temperature by approximately 35%.
Okay.
So that material, that cork material, will have to be periodically spread, just like you would spread with a spreader, or even with a bucket. Just throw it around and then just mix it in.
Okay. Should anything come up that we need to bond and there isn't enough room on the open space, will that be a bond issue outside of that open space? That'll be a separate one?
It's possible. It's possible.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Madam President, may I ask Tom a quick question?
Sure, go ahead.
How many parks do we have in Gloucester Township that we're responsible for?
Well over 50, I think it's about 60. Yeah. That's counting tot lots and the major parks.
Thank you. Ma'am, back there?
My name is Carol Kolincheko. I live in Timber Birch. I actually had a few questions I wanted to ask, but I've changed my mind. And I'm going to tell you why. I sat in the back, and I've looked at all of you up here, and I can't believe the facial expressions that you show when people ask certain questions. And it seems like nobody is getting an answer. Obviously, the people are here. We want answers for things now. Maybe people didn't come to meetings in the past, but we're going to come. We're going to bring our friends, and we're going to knock on doors, and we're going to keep coming back until we get answers. If they're spending money, they need to explain it to us and show us when we want to see it. This needs to change. If it takes getting people out of office or whatever we have to do, every one of you, I mean, not every one of you, some people are listening, but there are people that I saw rolling their eyes and not paying attention. And I think it's disrespectful, and I think it needs to stop. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
There you go, Dave. The resource.
Good evening, Vince Russo, Cobblestone Farm Development. I have a few questions. First time coming to one of these council meetings. And, obviously what brought me out was the tax hike throughout the whole township. I mean, between the school tax and the municipality. Are you saying we were, the last 2 years, I believe, we had 2%, we didn't raise or something? The last tax hike for our county was, when was the last tax hike that we had, our property tax? Was it last year?
Last 2 years.
And
It depends how you're phrasing the question.
Well, like-
Are you asking about the overall tax rate?
no, just our township tax.
The local?
Yeah, our local.
The local actually, in 2015, went down a penny. And the reason it went down a penny was because the rateable base increased. The ratables go up, the tax rate goes down. And so that's really not attributable to anything with the budget because the amount to be raised stayed the same. So it was really, in my view, a no change situation. The year before that, which was calendar year 2014, we had a 7.4 tax increase. 7.4. The year before that, 2013, again, because of the rateable change, a 1 cent increase. The year before that, there was a 0 change. The year before that, which calendar year 2011, was a 0 change. And then we had a zero change in the transition year, moving from a fiscal year to a calendar year.
Okay, and then this new budget, or that was just passed, is for this, is what, 7%? 8%? Yeah,
Our portion of that was 11 cents.
11 cents. Okay.
And as you noted before, the local school went up 7.6 cents, the county went up 3.6 cents, and the regional went up 3.9.
So total combined was over, I mean,
26 cents.
26 cents.
Perfect storm, everything's going up.
It's great. I mean, it's hard for, the regular people. I'm working 80 hours a week, to be honest. I'm never even home. I'm never even home to enjoy my home. It's crazy. I mean, it's got to stop. We got to do something. I mean, because, I don't know how the elderly do it, the senior citizens, the people that are on a fixed income. It's sad. And then also, had a question regarding, I don't know if you can help me out. At Mellon and Sicklerville Road, I live at the Mellon entrance, right soon. There's no left-hand turning lane, and I was almost rear-ended in numerous accidents there all the time. I'm just wondering why there's no left-hand turn into that development into Mellon, where all big school buses are there. The traffic backs up at certain times during the morning and night. It's really inconvenient. I don't know who I need to talk to see if we can have a...
Chief, is that something, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Is that something that you can answer or look into?
You're talking about Sicklerville Road turning left into Mullen Drive?
Yes, during school hours, not even school hours. I mean, just to turn in. It's a very narrow roadway all the way up and down, and believe me, I almost got rear-ended. So it's just really dangerous. I'm worried about kids and so on like that. And then I was looking on your website and looked for job opportunities. Not that I was looking for a job, I just wanted to see if you guys were hiring. Nothing out there. I mean, I know, is that due to the budget, or you just nobody's hiring anywhere?
We're not hiring right now, no.
Really? Okay. Well, thank you.
John, that's a county road, correct? Is that something too that you might be able to look into as a question to them as to whether or not that can happen?
I can pose a question to the county engineer. Usually, it's kind of a joint discussion between the county.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yes, ma'am. No problem.
Good evening. Maureen McLaughlin from the Hilltop section. I have a couple questions. One is, I've not been involved in the last couple years with some of the township decisions, but I'm curious if all these taxes are going up. The municipal tax going up 11 cents and overall 28 cents. How do you justify putting out $3 million for a turf field?
As I explained before, it's coming from the recreation open space, so it's a separate fund. It's not a general fund.
Okay, but can that be used elsewhere?
In terms of...
Like maybe fixing what we already have?
It can be used for anything.
Okay, because I know we have tennis courts, for example. Hickstown Park is beautiful. Try and get on there sometimes, you can. But yet we have aerial, by the firehouse. I don't know what that building's called. Quint Aerial Park, thank you. That has been.
Those tennis courts were addressed. Have you been out there recently?
No, not recently. So they're fixed?
I believe they're fixed.
Because I was out there last year and they weren't.
Fixed.
They are? Okay. And how about the ones on Low Gloucester Road?
Across from
Valley Brook.
I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure. I know we did some work there, but I'm not sure whether...
Okay, well, I will go check them out, Tom, and I will let you know. So my question is, though, if you know the school budgets are going up, what are you doing to try to reduce our tax rate?
Well, when we review our budget, we do go over it, but we were not aware of the other tax increases from the other entities. We
Okay,
were-
when do they take
Not
place?
true. Unbelievable. Not true.
I
I mean, as you're aware, the governor came along and changed the process. It used to be that the citizens would vote on the school budgets, and then when they were defeated, which mostly they were, they would come to us, and I would review them, and I would make recommendations for reductions. That doesn't happen any longer. The only criteria they have to meet is they have to stay within the 2% levy cap. And the 2% levy cap has exemptions and the ability to bank cap. What you see a lot of times is a zero increase, or maybe a reduction, and then boom.
Okay, so when does the school budget pass?
The school budget is worked on and approved in April,
And when is the township budget?
same time.
In April. I thought you said you're on a calendar year.
You start working on the budget, you're working off a temporary budget.
Okay.
The state extends the deadlines for introduction and adoption. In a lot of cases.
So you're working simultaneously with the schools?
Working separately on our budgets.
Well, I don't mean,
Simultaneously, yes.
you're working simultaneously, not as, you're two different entities, I get that. So when you find yourself faced with an 11-cent increase, why would you not inquire with the other areas as to what position they're in? Because a 28-cent increase?
Make it work, girl.
I'm sorry? Sorry, 26. Is absolutely absurd. I have so many people I know in this township that can't afford these increases, right? My home has decreased in value since 2006.
Absolutely.
Right, $60,000. But yet my taxes go up. I can't leave this township. I can't afford to sell my house because I owe more than what I can sell it for. And now I have to sit here and get it up the rear again with taxes.
Good girl. Get them. Make it work.
Process, and you know from being a councilwoman,
I do, but I never participated in an 11-cent increase, Tom.
you had increases.
I've never had an 11-cent and an overall township 28. 26, sorry.
Did you approve increases?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But I have not done it at that level when the condition of the economy, wait a minute.
Yes.
When I was on council, okay, the economy was a hell of a lot different. All right, right now, people are foreclosing on their homes left and right. That wasn't happening when I was on council. So don't compare the two.
What I'm saying is, did you have increases?
Don't compare the two, Tom. When people are in desperate need, okay, of trying to stay in their home,
Understand it. I don't-
you cannot put this kind of increase on the residents. So if that means you don't get a $3 million, field, or you don't get a tank, or you don't get whatever, there are certain things we need to do. We definitely need police.
Go for it, Dan.
Okay, because I know what's going on out there. I know the domestic violence that's going on, the drugs that are going on, and what do you think's happening with these abandoned homes? What are you doing about the abandoned homes?
You want to explain the program that
We do have a program in place where, once the complaint is filed through code enforcement, after a period of time, I believe it goes through the court, chief, I'm not sure, but after that period of time, we can go out with our crews and we fix the properties up and we lien the properties. So that whatever work we're doing out there is being charged to that property.
And you don't have enough people to do it.
That's correct. That's correct.
And that's exactly my point.
So when
I can tell you there's probably 20 homes in my little development, okay, that have been abandoned. Okay, and I know, and this is not a cut on the municipal workers. I know they're busting their tails, but this is a community issue that we have, and we cannot ignore it by, just saying, well, we'll get to it, there's a legal issue we have to go through, you know. I mean, I have people on my street that they've left their homes and their grass is this high. Okay, when I call, someone comes out and does something, but I shouldn't have to do that. I've been in this township a long time. I don't want to have to, you know, constantly be doing your job. And I just want to know what you're doing going forward with trying to keep these taxes down. Are you going to work with the school districts? I mean, I know we do some shared services, but maybe it's time that you have a council person that is a liaison for the school board so they can report to you while you're working on your budget so you know what's going on. Because apparently you don't know what's going on because you just said, you know, that, you know, we didn't know that. Well, you should. If you have an 11-cent tax increase, you should know what the county is doing, what the local school and the regional schools are doing. And if you don't, shame on you.
Thank you.
Nothing's going to change, hon. Relax.
So moving forward, you're not going to, will you consider putting a liaison, okay, on these other areas?
We've talked about it before, and we cannot put a liaison on there.
Why?
Dave, would you like to
The
further?
school board is an autonomous body. They're elected officials, just as this governing body is. They're independent. There's no such creature as a liaison. A council member, like anyone else, can attend the meetings of the school board, but they don't sit with the school board members. They can't go into closed session.
I didn't say they should.
There's no-
How about the MUA? Is that similar?
MUA is appointed by the governing body.
Okay.
We have a liaison, but that's not an official appointment.
Okay, so why don't you do an unofficial appointment to the school boards?
What I was going to say is the local MUA, GTMUA, allows our council liaison to participate with them, does not necessarily invite him or her into closed session, but that's because council created that position because they appoint the Gloucester Township MUA members. We don't appoint the school board members. So they're elected officials, totally independent from this government.
Okay, I recognize that, but are you saying that if council chooses to recognize a liaison from council to attend those meetings, they could not do that?
They can attend the meetings.
They can. So my question is, will council,
Not as a liaison.
I'm sorry?
Yeah,
We can attend them, but not as a liaison, because they're,
All right, how about the housing authority? Is that also under the township's jurisdiction?
Housing authority is also under the jurisdiction of the governing body. We have, by ordinance, established the position of liaison. We name.
Okay, how about the YAC? Is YAC still around, the youth organization?
Liaison.
Yeah, I'm on the Parks and Rec, and we have talked about bringing the yak back.
Okay, is that an appointed thing?
Under this governing body.
It's under this governing body in what capacity?
Appointed by this governing body. The school board is not appointed by this governing body. School board members, regional and local, are independent elected officials. They don't have to respond to the governing body in any fashion.
I recognize that, but my point of asking that was since, I'm sorry, I forget your last name.
Trotta.
Since Ms. Trotta indicated that council was not aware of what the schools were doing, I'm making a recommendation and would like council to consider that if the schools are getting out of control in taxes, that maybe council should know what's going on. I'm not saying going into closed sessions, but know what's going on while you're doing your budget so that the taxpayers don't have a 26-cent tax increase.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When were you a council member?
From 2000, 2005.
2000, 2005. Fiscal year 2001, we had a 5.3 cent increase. Fiscal year 2002, we had a 5.1 cent tax increase. Fiscal year 2003, we had a 6.7.
Tom, what was the overall for the township?
5.9%.
Okay, so we're talking a max of 6 compared to your 11.
The
Okay.
average over the last 7 budget cycles with this 11 cent
No, forget the,
It's 2.636.
but listen.
You raise taxes every year that you were on council.
And I'm not saying that there's not a reason to do that, but when you have 11 cents on top of all the others, it's 26.
Say that, and you're also raising taxes.
What were the overall taxes in those years? You don't know, right?
But I know what the local was.
All right, so the next meeting, I would appreciate if you have the same stats for the overall taxes, so we can see if in total, it was more than 26 cents. All right, I appreciate that. And again, I'm not saying that you can't keep it at a 0 tax increase. That's absurd. I get that.
It's the whole process. It's
I
what
get
the state
that.
of New Jersey put in effect. They don't raise our state aid. They put everything on property taxes. You have to then look at the budget. What are you going to cut?
I get that, but that's what we need to start doing a little bit more, because guess what? We have to make cuts here.
I understand that.
So I think we just need to tighten our belt a little bit and think about, you're gonna have maintenance on that turf, okay? Maybe 10 years from now, you're gonna have to replace the turf. So, these are things that we have to be thinking about.
I understand.
So, I mean, I appreciate all of your time, I really do, but.
I think we hear you. I mean, you make a good point. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question, because you formerly worked on council. Could you give a suggestion of where you think a cut? I mean, you spoke, you said, of course, not the police force, and I'm putting.
Well, I'll tell you what, I will be part of your next budget sessions. And I'll tell you exactly where I think you should cut it. And Tom knows I will.
I would welcome.
I'm agreeing on this.
No.
Ask for a suggestion, what, off the top of your head, I heard someone mention, I've heard other things mentioned, I've written things down. What would be a suggestion? You've been in this chair.
Well, being that I have not been involved since, last 9 years, I could not give you an answer to that, but certainly during the workshops, when you're here doing the budget, I will be participating in that, because I believe that I do need to be part of that.
I'm
right?
looking forward to it.
My thing is, I just want, all right, I'll just prepare you all now, I'll be here. So, Tom knows me, he knows what he's gonna get his hands into.
So with this budget, the appropriations on this budget over the prior year increased by $1,243,000, or 2.19%. So it's not an appropriation problem. It's the revenue.
It's a revenue, because people are foreclosing on their homes. That's my point.
The problem with looking at this budget, and I did pour through this budget, I do, is that most of the expenses are statutory. They can't cut the trash. They're gonna pick it up every 2 weeks.
I get that, and I know it's about revenue and appropriations, but we need to think outside the box somehow. Because either we need to, listen, we have to do something.
We're gonna lay people off, and then what happens is so we have less police officers.
No, I'm not saying police officers.
That's employees, because you already pointed out to them. We don't have enough.
Chris.
So, but anyway, my point is, I know it's frustrating. But we have to look at, we have to start now looking at the overall. When it gets to that level, we need to look at everybody. And I'm not saying that you can do anything with the schools, you can't do anything with the county, but if you're educated as to what they're doing, okay, maybe there's more that you can work together or something. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, except for the fact that I would love to leave Gloucester Township, but I can't.
How many of those meetings that we had
Me too, man.
with the local school and the regional, how did those meetings go? They were contentious? It was
There's no
a
doubt.
hide and seek game? We had to look to find the money?
There's
and
no
when I
doubt.
said the money's there, what'd they say? Nah, it's not. And I said, well, we'll have a cup of coffee next year, and I'll look at your audit, and I'll tell you what, we'll see who was right. Who was right all those times? I was, because I knew it was there.
Tom, I'm not debating on that.
And very well, that budget could have had something in it.
I'm not debating on
They're
that.
not compelled by law to let me look and say, I think you could appropriate more surplus. That doesn't happen anymore. And that's because Christina's administration changed that.
Listen, I'm not debating that. I'm just saying that there's a lot going on right now, and we have to start thinking a little differently.
telling you that we have no hammer on them in terms of their budget. And the same with the county, you know that.
Maybe we should look at some different engineering services, you know, some of the fees that we put on.
State needs to change the process is what needs to happen.
Then maybe council should do something about that as well. Maybe you need to go to the state.
Yes.
All right, on our behalf.
Yes.
So.
Thank you.
And I also encourage everybody to go to the school board meetings because no one goes to them.
We're on the same night.
Thank you, Maureen.
It's fixed.
Good evening, Council. Grant Schul, live here in Glen Oaks. I was here a month ago, and one of the things that I asked Council was, what can you do to mitigate the tax increases that we're facing? I asked you for ideas. Haven't heard any ideas yet. Didn't really expect it, but I haven't heard any. If you're here to do a job for public service, let's do it for public service, not for money. Let's just do it for $1 a year. Also, you want a way to save money? Sell a tank.
Yeah.
The county has a tank, we don't need a tank. How many times since we've owned it have both tanks been called out to do something?
They might need it soon.
I'll bet never. There must be some other township that's a sucker for something like a tank. Let's sell it to them. Also, Black Horse Regional School District ranks 142nd. Why don't we see if we can't get on a performance-based salary thing with this? And I know it's talking about the union, and I'm not trying to knock the teachers, but let's do something to stop the increases. 11-cent increase, and you guys say you knew nothing about it? Well, there's something wrong with
Didn't know
that.
anything about municipal. We said about the school, the county.
Also, I suggested that once you reach the age of 65, we stop being taxed for schools.
Yes.
Because we're not using them. We don't have kids in those schools. We've paid all the time we've lived here, whether we used the public school system or used private schools. Personally, my choice was private schools, but I paid the school taxes because I realized it was necessary. Now, I don't see any need for it because I have no kids going there.
Well, that's a decision that's made by the state, not on a local level.
Well, then maybe we need to get it on the ballot and see what we can do to change it. And at this point, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll be back at the next meeting, and I hope one of you has given some thought to what we can do to mitigate these tax increases. I remember a long, long time ago, we had a guy named George who wanted to taxes and taxes and taxes. We finally got fed up with it and tossed his butt out of the country. Take note. If you don't learn from history, you're going to repeat it.
Before you leave, can I?
Where you going, buddy? About time people spoke up.
Jim Williams, 3 Tiffany Place, Ariel. I'd like to, I won't say disagree, but prior to my coming up here, my wife and I moved down from New York 35 years ago, and our kids were 12, 11, 10, and 5, and someone paid taxes for our kids to go to school here. You know, it is, in my opinion, it's one of the best school districts to be had, so whoever sends their kids to schools there are very, very lucky. Now, the people that pay taxes could have been 65, 75, 85, but they paid the taxes for my children to go to school. I'm sorry. Now, my also suggestion is, I know private industry, through attrition, is starting, somebody retires, they say, okay, now, and my wife is one of the people, right now, so-and-so retired, we're sorry, we can't replace them, we're going to give this job to you, this job to you, this job to you, this job to you. There's a very, very easy way to solve some of the problems we're having, and like I said, some through attrition. Now, I want to say, in different areas, they don't have, how many superintendents of schools do we have? How many? No, don't, oh, it's Gloucester Township, but isn't,
Gloucester Township has a superintendent, Black Horse Regional has a superintendent.
all right, but that doesn't come under us, does it?
Both are under us.
Or under us. So why couldn't we have one superintendent? I don't understand.
It's not that part there too.
Yeah, I understand. So, but I mean, I'm just saying dig a little bit, you know? That's what has to be done, just dig a little bit. And again, attrition is one way. There has to be other ways and people are suffering. In a way, my wife and I are lucky, my son's gonna buy our house. And be honest with you, we're living in Delaware right now because we can't afford the taxes. But we're lucky in a sense my wife is working, but I cannot understand the poor people that the husband and wife aren't working. I don't know how they're gonna afford it. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Dennis Palmer, Braemar Avenue. Some of the issues, we go back and make sure the folks here aren't being misrepresented. I remember the referendum for the open space. I got my neighbors to come out to vote for it because people, when they looked at it, guarantee 100% there wasn't a single person who thought about $3 million for turf fields when that came out. Everybody heard open space, saving lands that was foreign land, things like that. Just because the money's there, and it's there because everybody put it in. They put in the cents per whatever it is now. What is it now, Tom? How many cents? 2 cents. They put their 2 cents, literally the 2 cents in, thinking it's going to be open space. And we're going to have farmland preserved, other things like that, not turf fields. And the money's not like it's magic money. It's everyone in this room's money that they put in over the years. It's sounding like it's the Transportation Trust Fund. The money's gone.
I have a copy of that sitting right on my wall. It is a very short passage.
Oh, yeah.
It lists many things that.
Isn't it? Maintenance as well.
Historic and maintenance.
Absolutely, absolutely, but no one thought about that. And frankly, if the money, just because the money's there, it doesn't have to be spent.
Yep.
And it's everybody in this room's money that's being spent. The idea that it could have been drawn down for maintenances and save some money off the general budget, because it is including maintenance. There's monies that could have been saved and spent maybe wisely and less of an impact on the funds. So I think everyone at that time, and I got my neighbors out to vote for it, saw open space. And yes, there's many other things in that paragraph. I know very well. I remember seeing it and reading it. Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Roy Kolincheko Jr. I'm actually a prospective home buyer. I've been searching for a house that I can actually, that I can move into. And, sure, I'm no stranger to hard work. I do want a fixer-upper. I want to mold it to be the way I want it to be, absolutely. But I have not been able to find a home where I can afford the mortgage and the taxes in this county at all. I grew up in this county since I was 11. I would love to stay in it, but I can't. I can afford a $180,000 house, absolutely, but I can't afford the taxes on it too. I've seen houses range in the area with taxes around $7,000 to $10,000 a year, and that to me is crazy. I know what my parents have been paying. I know what some of my neighbors have even been paying, and to be coming into it as a first-time home buyer and have to jump into the fire like that to me is one, incredibly scary, because I'm trying to work out my finances so that I can, yes, afford this, afford that, and still pay for utilities. And sure, like I said, mortgage is not a problem. That's not a problem whatsoever. It's that $600 to $800 a month in addition to it. That seems absolutely mind-boggling.
It is. It's definitely mind-boggling. They don't care.
If I'm a young home buyer, I'm a first-time home buyer. How many of me are there coming to this county? How many people are leaving this county, literally walking away from their homes? Right down the street from where I live, there is a moving pod sitting in the driveway of an abandoned home. I see another house that's for sale because the family are moving for whatever reason. I can take a few guesses though. I can go through the development that I grew up in and see additional abandoned houses. I can drive up Warwick Road into Haddon Township, and yes, I know it's more of the same. A lot of the townships I'm finding, they need to increase the taxes because there aren't enough people here paying the taxes. But if they increase the taxes, they're going to drive more of those taxpayers out. It's a catch-22, it's a vicious cycle, whatever you want to call it, but that's what it is. So yes, we should be looking at ways to help reduce that. We should be looking at ways of raising incentives for different programs outside of pulling from property tax. If it means renting out space for events, if it means maybe having a community farms, whatever it is that can possibly be done to help raise funding through other means, I really think we should have that. And I know it's really not much of a question, it's more of a statement. It's me throwing my 2 cents in.
No, it's good 2 cents. From the Blackburn States, there's foreclosures all over the place.
Absolutely.
They don't care. They just keep raising taxes.
Well, they need to care now. We all need to care.
We all need to fight.
Can you please respect those that are coming to speak, please?
Sorry about that.
Joanne Clark, Timber Birch. All of these people are here because of this year's tax increase. The horrifying thought to me is it's going to go up again next year. It won't go down, correct?
We haven't done the budget.
I haven't worked the budget yet.
Well, people behind me are saying it has to go down. Do you think next year's taxes will stay the same, go down, or go up?
How can you answer that when we haven't even looked at next year's budget?
Working on those numbers now.
I'm going to push for the...
Oh, yeah, right. Sure. I mean, we hear what everyone is saying, and I think when it comes time to review,
right.
I know all of us have many pages of notes to bring into discussion.
Well, I know you keep asking us for ideas, and a few people have brought them up. We would like to hear ideas from you. I mean, if it means us coming to the workshop meeting, we would like to hear what you guys, how you think we can get around this. If a lot of this stuff is mandated, maybe we can get Assemblywoman Moscata to join in the meetings and go to Trenton for us to alleviate some of the things that we're paying. But it has to work both ways. You have to give us ideas and we have to give you ideas. And we're willing to grasp at anything because this is the response you got from this year. If next year stays the same, we'll still be holding our breath. If it goes up again, I'm like, there won't be anybody here for you to govern. So, okay, thank you.
Yes, Ray.
Thank you for allowing me to speak again, Ray Poldor, Ariel. Just want to, I don't remember whether you were at the council meeting or not, Ms. Trotto, but I'm going to respectfully ask you to refrain from stating that you did not know about the school taxes. The council meeting that I was here when you guys were considering the budget, I specifically asked Mr. Mercado on the numbers that we believed that we had at the time for both school districts and the freeholders. And I'll give you a mulligan if you weren't at that meeting, but I would ask you to refrain from saying that this body did not know that. I asked that question, and I would be more than happy to put the video up on Facebook to remind the people that this body knew that while the budget was being spoken about. So, as respectfully as I can, I would ask you, maybe you weren't there, but this body did know, and I asked that question. Secondly, to reemphasize what Mr. Palmer said, open space almost sounds like it's free money. Grants almost sound like they're free money. Open space we pay for with this property tax. It comes out of our pockets, whether it comes from our left pocket or our right pocket. Grants and open space money is our money. That's important for people to remember because it's spoken of like it's free money. And that's the problem that a lot of politicians and governments have. They spend our money like it's theirs, and it's not that way. Secondly, Mr. Cardis, each time you go back on the budget, you go back right to the borderline, to the transition year, 2010. But you fail to mention 2010, which was a 23.5-cent increase that this body passed and Mayor signed, which equates to about 25%.
One that Mayor Rowhatton presented to the council.
I believe Mayor Rowhatton presented 12 cents. She was removed from office by virtue of the change of the election period, which gave her 6 months less than the 4 years, which she was unable to complete the budget due to the process that this body voted on to change the elections from May to November. So it was Mayor that signed that 23.5 cent budget. No ifs, ands, or buts, it's his signature on that.
Just a side note on that. 23.9 cents was preceded by a 21.8 cent tax increase.
I'm sorry?
23.9 cent tax increase in fiscal year 2010 was preceded by a 21.8 cent tax increase in fiscal year 2009.
Okay. Do you remember how the economy was in 2009?
I'm just stating what the tax rate was.
Okay. I am going to also pay a compliment to the township has, and I know that you guys have been up on taking care of the vacant homes, mowing the lawns, putting the aluminum gutters back up. I know that because I have so many vacant homes in my development. I see the work being done. And it's applaudable that you do that, but they're still vacant. And there's going to be many more. And these people are coming out to these meetings, not because somebody is making them or it's going wild on Facebook or next door. They're coming out because time and time again, it happens, it happens, it happens. And it hurts bad enough. And Mrs. Carr's question was, will it go up again next year? If she would have just simply asked the question, is it going down next year? That would have been an easier answer for you. The answer would have been no. But let's remind folks that when you increase it 23.5 cents, and then you applaud yourself for voting a zero increase, that zero increase is 23.5 cents higher. Now you go 9.9, and you jack it up again, and you say zero again, but it's now another 9% higher. Each time you raise taxes and you applaud yourself for a zero increase, the new level is here. I don't think you should be applauding yourself. And we know it has to do with the elections. It always does, it always will. Everybody does it, both sides. But this is not any town, this is our town. Look at it again, keep looking, because it's not going down. We all know that.
Thank you. You're the last speaker, and then we're going to close the second.
Okay, thank you. What I missed out because the lady.
Oh, we need your name again, please.
Charles Burley, Country Air. In 2010, the year you're saying that we had this 23% increase, Mayor's campaign promise that was that he would end the double-digit tax hikes and restore fiscal order to this township by freezing spending. What happened with this double-digit increase the year he was elected? It was like he told us all a lie, and he's never here. When I used to cover these meetings for the Record Breeze, the mayor was here. The mayor's never here. Why is that?
Right. I'm not going to say.
Is it that he just doesn't care about his constituents? I don't understand that. And you, Mr. Carlemere, and you, Mr. Cardis, used to have smiles on your faces. You were happy. You were doing a great job. Under this mayor, you're not doing a good job. I don't know if he controls everything or what, but people are taxed out of their minds. They can't afford it. I speak to my friends all over the United States.
Not one of them pays as much as I pay in 3 months in the whole year. A whole year they pay less than I pay in 3 months. There's got to be a better way. You've got to find ways, and you've got to tell us you're looking for them, so that we can earn more income from other entities. Sell some of those extra parks we have. We don't need that many parks. And you said that that was coming out of that one fund. Well,
Cannot sell a park.
pardon me?
Cannot sell a park.
You can't sell a park? Well,
Once it's on the, what's called the ROSI list, the Recreation Open Space Inventory list, under the Green Acres DEP, if you sell a parcel, you have to replace it, I believe, 2 for 1 or 3 for 1.
well, is there any way we could turn it, some of them that aren't used that much, into like garden centers, so local communities can have gardens in there to start growing their own vegetables and things like that?
We do have that at April Davies Tavern has a community garden.
Okay, could we increase it to more so that we don't have to continually go back and fix these parks up? The communities could use them. We have to find ways to make some sort of income to decrease our debt and to keep our taxes under some kind of control. We can't do it. We want to do it. We know you guys are trying, but we need to find more ways, and we need you to come. You're intelligent people. You wouldn't be sitting up there if you weren't so intelligent. Try and get creative. Try and figure out ways that we can make some money or raise some funds, like for these sports things. Why can't those kids do like the Girl Scouts do? Start selling things to take care and maintain that turf you spend all that money on, instead of us having to put more into it. Actually, what I'd like to see is that whole resolution, or whatever it's called here. The resolution, yes, we'd like to see that resolution rescinded. We would love to see that. Let the sports people try and find ways of fixing their own fields. If they want the fields that badly, we can't afford it.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm part of a youth organization, and a lot of us do find ways to fundraise, to put back into the parks that we're associated with. I know a lot of people, are against the turf fields, 3.1 million, I get it. But that'll attract other townships to come to the community to play in tournaments. Hopefully they'll use our restaurants.
Are they going to help us with our taxes? These people coming
You're
in
asking about ways to raise money. I mean, we're going to that'll attract people into our community.
for the businesses, but it's not going to give
But it's
township.
a rateable for the township. It brings ratables, so, we're working on it.
Okay, well, I do hope you go over my list there and possibly consider it, because I know of people that are putting out $600 a week for one child in these daycares. If you could do something with that senior center, I don't have any young children that could go there, you can tell. However, there are a lot of young couples struggling because they have to put out so much on daycare. It's expensive. If you could give the residents, okay, say they have one child, have it for $200 a week, and 2 children, $300 a week. It'd be income for the township, and it would help these poor struggling young people. They need a break too. We elderly need a break as well, you know that. We're struggling. And if we could handle these taxes, we wouldn't be here complaining. We're literally begging you to help us. Yes, Mrs. Bell.
I'm hoping with full-day kindergarten this year starting in the district, that will help. In other school districts, people pay for kindergarten. They have to pay for it.
Yes, I know there's a lot of people with younger children.
Right, that are paying for kindergarten in other districts. It's not free. In our district, that's not going to occur. But I'm glad you're mentioning things like this. So hopefully, full-day kindergarten will help in some way, at least for children who are at least 5 years old. Well, they'll no longer have to use daycare. So hopefully that will be somewhat of a help.
Do you think there's any possibility of turning that senior center into something that's going to benefit the residents and bring in money for the township?
You talk two different things, and the school is separate and doesn't run private daycare.
Right.
The municipality doesn't run private daycare. While they do have programs at the rec center, they don't run private daycare. That's another entity in itself.
Could Mr. Carlemere please look into that to see if we could possibly do that for the residents?
I don't know if that's something that a township itself, outside the recreation program, if you're looking at expansion or anything like that, again, you're looking at more monies. But it's not something that we can't look at. I mean, I would never say you can't look at it, but I'm just trying to be practical from a standpoint that most municipalities outside of recreation programs don't run educational programs, i.e. schools. But I'm hoping with what you just addressed, that at least full-day kindergarten will help, because I know that was.
Well, that does. My
great
daughter
stressor.
just missed out on that,
Yeah,
and she was
that
putting out $600 a week for her child.
And I did the same when I had small children, but that was a great stressor, so I'm hoping that will be a help to some of the community.
It would really benefit the younger generation.
Yeah.
You know, they have a lot of little kids.
But believe it or not, other districts, you pay.
Oh, I know that. I realize that. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to close the second public portion. We have polling of directors.
Chief Earl,
Nothing to report, thank you.
Excuse me,
Parliamentary,
nothing to report.
Pardon me, may I speak?
I had announced it,
I had my hand
when,
up,
no,
though.
you did not. When
Yes,
I
I did.
announced it prior to that, your hand was not up,
Let him
sir.
speak. What's up?
Come forward.
Thank you.
This is the absolute last one. You did not have your hand up prior. No, you did not,
Thank you
but
very
go
much.
ahead.
Sam Sweet from the aerial section. I too am part of youth athletics. Did the council ever think of getting, is it possible, sponsors for these turf fields? Like a Pepsi, an Adidas, glove manufacturer, football? Companies are willing to spend money for advertising. Did you guys ever think about that? I know that I built a scoreboard when I was living in Cherry Hill and had it fully paid for by Pepsi, Whole Foods, an aerospace command center that wanted to do that. So it can be done. Did you guys even look into that?
We're doing that with regard to the Field of Dreams, and they're trying to attract sponsors and contributors for that. Beyond that, I don't think we have explored it for these turf fields, though. But they are doing it for the Field of Dreams.
So it wasn't done for these turf fields?
Not that I'm aware.
Not that I'm aware of.
But it is actively being done for another project,
What other project?
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. Which, how old has Field of Dreams been going on for?
It's a few years old. I don't know exactly how much they have in that.
Just I've been hearing Field of Dreams forever and a
About
day.
88 to 100 and something.
I think 138.
They have 138,000 from sponsors for that program, yes.
And they could use the help on the committee, so we welcome that. If you're good at that, we
You don't want
put
me
your
on
2
that.
cents in
You
and
don't want me on that committee.
Why?
Why? Put your money where your mouth is.
Okay.
But when
By all
you say,
means,
when you say you've done that,
I've
why
done
not
it, yes, I've done it,
step
but,
forward and
all right,
help a good
okay.
cause?
I do have a question for Mr. Carlemere. Just a clarification, you had stated that the school board is an autonomous, separate from the council?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain this picture then from Facebook on where we see 3 council members newly elected with the 6 newly elected school board members with a broom holding a clean sweep? I'm just wondering, so if you're autonomous, if the school board's autonomous, how come council members are posing for pictures with clean sweep?
I don't know what that picture represents. I've never seen that picture. But
Would you like to see it?
I'm telling you that school boards are.
Would you like to see the picture?
I'm commenting on what the state law says. School boards are independent bodies elected by the people, just as the Gloucester Township Council.
Substance over form, Mr. Carlemere.
They
Would
raise
you
their
like to see the
budgets.
picture?
Gloucester Township Council raises its.
Would you like to see the picture?
No, sir.
No? Why not?
Because I don't know what it represents or where it was taken.
This was taken out of the Democratic Club, I believe. So would you like to see it? Why not? It's just a picture.
That's not going to change my answer.
That's it. I just want a clarification of this. Because it's not autonomous. We all know that.
It is autonomous.
I can find out what the school board budget is and the council budget is at the same time. How come you guys can't?
Okay.
Simple questions here.